Well, g'day everyone, my name is Mark and this is Inside Rugby with Mark. I'm a Kiwi rugby fan living here in beautiful Cancun in Mexico, and in this video I'm going to give you the review show of the game that's just finished between Toulouse and Harlequins that was played in Toulouse today. The semi-final of the Champions Cup, the second semi-final. We saw the first one yesterday, of course, between Leinster and Northampton, Leinster winning that one. So let's get into the review of this game, and there's quite a lot of questions I have for you out there today, so make sure you stay tuned for those. G'day everyone and welcome back to the channel. If you are a regular viewer, great to have you here. I hope you've enjoyed the weekend of rugby so far. There's been some great games across the world again this weekend, and of course the game today in Toulouse. If you're first time here on the channel, welcome. It's great to have you here. I'm a Kiwi guy that just loves making videos about talking about rugby. That's why I do this, and I'm sitting here in beautiful Mexico at the moment. A hot steamy day, and as it was pretty hot and steamy in Toulouse this afternoon as well for that game between the Toulouse home team and the Quins visiting team from the UK. So Ugo Moller is the head coach of Toulouse, and he's obviously got a very good team there, one of the top teams in Europe over the last number of years. And Danny Wilson, the coach of the Harlequins team, was coming to Toulouse with a pretty big task ahead of him to try and get his team into the final of this year's Champions Cup. And in the first minute of the game, we saw a bit of a teaser for what this game was going to be about. It was a frantic start to the game. Quins had the ball and they were running it wide from one side to the other. And then Toulouse got hold of it, and Kinghorn made a very dangerous break down the right-hand side, went close down into the 22 of the Harlequins team, but he was brought down, and that attacking raid was finished by Harlequins. But it was a very frantic start to the game, and it was also very exciting. If this was going to continue for a long period, we were going to be in for a very good open, expansive game of rugby this afternoon. In the third minute of the game, we saw the little magician come to life for the first time. Anton Dupont, the halfback for Toulouse, of course, the captain of the Toulouse team, and really the orchestrator, or the conductor I should say, of the orchestra. He did a fantastic kick pass that went out to Malia's wing. Unfortunately, Malia wasn't ready for it and he didn't quite grab it on that particular occasion. But again, Dupont thinking outside the box, looking for ways to set his back line apart from the Harlequins team and give them an opportunity to break within the first few minutes of the game. But we only had to wait 1 minute longer before Toulouse went in for their first try of the day, and it was a fantastic try as well to the winger Lebel. But what happened in the build-up is Mifu, the guy that I spoke about in my preview video, did a storming run into the Harlequins 22. He got the ball back to Dupont. Dupont passed it on to Intermac, and then Intermac fired a long pass over the top and out wide to Lebel, who went in for a great try for Toulouse in the first 4 minutes of the game. Blair Kinghorn, the Scottish fullback, stood up to take the conversion. Unfortunately, he missed that, but Toulouse were off to a flying start by 5 points to 0 after 5 minutes of the game. And then we got back underway, and again the ball came back to Toulouse, and Dupont, that man, was off again. A 40-metre darting run through the middle of the Harlequins defence. Came to nothing on this occasion, but he was very close to getting some support players away. And I think the reason he's playing sevens this year is having a big impact on his 15 game. He's just gone up another level, if that's possible at all. He's got a lot of more stamina because he's been playing that sevens game. And he's been using a lot of the darting runs a lot more as well in the 15s game, and it's been very exciting to play. So another great burst from Dupont there, and was brought down finally by Harlequins. In the first 10 minutes of the game, we saw a couple of scrums, and already Toulouse's forward pack were putting the pressure on Harlequins. They had a 12 kilogram advantage in terms of weight goes, but in addition to that, they've got a very strong forward pack with a lot of international experience in there, with Mifu and Flamand in there at locking. They were really doing some damage. Malvaca in the front row as well, with Bale and Aldegeri as well. A very experienced pack from Toulouse. It was starting to make a difference in the early minutes of the game. But it was Harlequins to hit next, and in the 13th minute of play they went over for a try to Marcus Smith, but this came on the back of a great build-up from Harlequins, pick and going, a lot of patience in the build-up, going from one side to the other, really testing out the Toulouse defence, and they found them wanting in the end, and Marcus Smith went over for a try. It was converted also by himself, so after 15 minutes of the game we had Harlequins in the lead by 7 points to 5. Then we got to the 18th minute mark and it was Toulouse back on attack again. They had a line-out opportunity and Malvaca ended up going over in a rolling maul, and again this is where Toulouse are very good. They're able to keep the momentum going through those inside channels, and it seems to cause a lot of their opponents' defensive lines a lot of trouble, and we saw that early on in this game. So a great try by Malvaca, and it was converted by Blair Kinghorn. Now, one of the challenges that Hugo Molla has in this Toulouse team is having Blair Kinghorn and Thomas Ramos in the team, because you probably forgo a little bit of the kicking percentages by having Kinghorn starting in this team, and that was the case in this game. He missed his first attempt for the conversion of the first try, but he was successful with the second one. So after 15 minutes of the game we saw Toulouse back in the lead by 12 points to 7, Kinghorn getting that conversion over. Now in the 24th minute, a first little bit of controversy in the game. It appeared that Liner had done a 50-22. A lot of the crowd were trying to tell the ref that it wasn't, but looking back from the TMO, it turned out to be a 50-22. So it put Harlequins deep on attack, and they got the line-out ball, which was crucial in that particular moment. The ball came out wide, and they were able to push forward after a number of phases of picking going. And Evans ended up going over for a good try to Harlequins, so they were right back in this game. So it was a good try by Evans. It wasn't converted by Smith. So 12 all it was after 24 minutes of the game, and it was really good to see Harlequins get back in parity with Toulouse, because Toulouse had been doing some really good things up until this stage of the game, and they looked very dangerous. But just 90 seconds later it all went pear-shaped for Harlequins, because Toulouse from the kickoff were down deep on attack. The ball came out and it was Flamand, the big lock for Toulouse, that grabbed the steal more or less and went over for a very easy and soft try to put Toulouse back in the lead again. And as I mentioned about Kinghorn's kicking, he missed the conversion attempt, so at that stage the points were 17 points to 12 in favour of Toulouse. From the kickoff it was all Toulouse again. They went on an insane running and passing spree up into the Harlequins half. It was absolutely fantastic to watch the power they had in going forward, but also the speed and agility of passing and finding their support players. The move went about 60 metres downfield. It didn't result in any points at that particular time, but it just showed how dangerous Toulouse can be, or this Toulouse team can be, from any part of the field. It was just brilliant rugby to watch. And with Toulouse showing so much talent, we didn't have to wait much longer before the scores changed again, and this time it was Toulouse starting off a move in their own half. A brilliant move down the right hand side of the field that saw a kick go forward. I think it was Costas that put the kick forward. Kinghorn was chasing up very close to the line. He dived over top of the ball came out the back. Dupont was there, the man on the spot once again, and he dove over the try line to score the 4th try for Toulouse in this game. It was an absolutely brilliant move from Toulouse, and it just showed that if Harlequins weren't in their defensive line straight away, then this Toulouse team was going to thread them to pieces, and that's exactly what happened in this particular try. Kinghorn got the kick over on this particular occasion, so Toulouse went out to 24 points to 12 in the lead after 35 minutes of the game. And it was all Toulouse, because a minute later they went in again, and it was a fantastic run by this time Malvaca, the hooker for Toulouse, who found a big gap. He went close to scoring himself, but the ball came back, and guess who was there? You're right, Anton Dupont. He went over for their 5th try of the game. Dupont had scored close to the post, so Kinghorn didn't have any troubles with this particular conversion, and the score blew out to 31 points to 12. Toulouse has scored 5 brilliant tries in the first half so far, and were looking incredibly dangerous. Were we going to have a blowout in this game? This is what everybody was thinking when. And that in fact was going to be the halftime score, 31 points to 12. 7 tries scored in the first half of this game, 5 to Toulouse, 2 to the Harlequins team. And boy, it must have been probably close to the best first half of rugby we've seen for a very long time, particularly from a club side. Toulouse were absolutely on fire, and I'm sure when they got into the sheds, Danny Wilson was having some pretty harsh words with the Harlequins team, particularly talking about their defence, because it seemed as though Toulouse were just able to open them up at will. But this came from a lot of great play. It came from Dupont, mastery around the breakdown area. He was keeping it close. He was using Flamand and Mifu and Malvaca to do these darting runs. Crew was brilliant on the breakdown situation as well for Toulouse, as was Jack Willis getting in there and getting early ball back. And that was causing all sorts of headaches for Harlequins in that first half, because they weren't able to slow the play down. And when Toulouse opened the ball up, then they had their wide receivers waiting for the ball out wide, and of course Dupont was there doing some crafty things all along. Intermac was good as well. He did a couple of good distributions in that first half and some little smart kicks which made a difference. And overall in that first half, it was just an outstanding performance of a brilliant rugby team. I thought Toulouse were just playing supreme rugby, and Harlequins had to watch out in the second half. As I always say in my videos, whoever scores first in the second half was going to be able to wrestle back the momentum in this game. So it's going to be really interesting to see whether or not Toulouse were going to be able to keep their pedal on the metal when they came out. I thought Cunning himself had a really good half for Harlequins. Danny Kerr was playing well in his role. Marcus Smith was doing a few good things. Tyron Green was having a good game from fullback as well for Harlequins, but they just weren't able to penetrate the Toulouse defence when they did have the ball. But much of the ball and much of the territory and possession came from the spontaneous play of Toulouse in that first half. So the second half got underway. In the first couple of minutes, it was Harlequins having a bit of the possession. Marcus Smith was even doing a few Anton Dupont's impersonations with a couple of goose steps, but not really going anywhere. He was just going backwards and forwards across the field and getting caught in tackles, so it wasn't really making any progress for Harlequins. But they did have the ball, and they were getting a little bit more possession to start off with in the second half, so that gave them a little bit of hope from that perspective. And we only had to wait 5 minutes of the second half for the first points to be scored, and it was a try to Harlequins, a very, very good move. They'd been deep down on attack and putting a lot of pressure on the Toulouse defence. The ball came out to Marcus Smith, and he did a very long looping pass out to Murley on the wing. He had a lot of work to do to finish this one off, and he dived high in the air, went over and put the ball down in the goal without his legs hitting the post or going out. It was a very, very good try by Harlequins and well finished off by Murley. So they were starting to come back in this game, and as I said, the first team to score in the second half was probably going to get some momentum in the game, and that's what actually happened on this occasion. So the try was scored right out wide by the touchline, but Marcus Smith got the conversion over, so we were back to 31 points to 19. And the crowd was going a little bit quiet inside the stadium Toulouse, because Harlequins had shown they were not going to lay down in this game. After the kickoff from Toulouse, Harlequins got the ball and started making progress again back into the Toulouse half. And one thought that this was probably going to be the period of the game where Harlequins were going to have their best opportunity to score points and really try and get back on the scoreboard. So for the next couple of minutes, it was Harlequins running Toulouse a bit rugged at the back, and a series of phases of play ended up in Tyron Green going over for a fantastic try for Harlequins. It was a build-up where they broke through the line, and the Toulouse defence was really caught limited out wide. Green came sprinting through the middle of the field and went over for a relatively easy try in the end. The Quins were back in this game. 31-24 became 31-26 after Marcus Smith got that conversion over, and the Toulouse crowd were turning down the decibels quite significantly as the Harlequins team really showed they were in the fight. They had plenty of time now. They were just one score behind Toulouse. We still had 20 minutes to go in this game, so it was a great opportunity for Harlequins to try and turn this one around. It made me think of the game yesterday between Leinster and Northampton, when we saw that great comeback by Northampton, and it really rattled Leinster. and put them under a lot of pressure. A lot of people sitting at Croke Park yesterday got very nervous indeed. Well, we were seeing the same thing in Toulouse again today. The French crowd was starting to be a lot quieter. Joe Marler had come on for Harlequins, and he started off with not a very good play, not releasing the ball in a penalty turnover for the Toulouse team to get them out of a little bit of trouble at that stage of the game. But at the 62nd minute of the game, it was another Harlequins attacking move down the left-hand side of the field, and Malia came up with a big tackle that stopped the Harlequins team from possibly getting in from another try. It was good play from him, and it snuffed out a little bit of momentum at that time. Danny Kerr went off after that particular play, and Will Porter came on as the substitute halfback. I thought Danny Kerr had played a very good game up until that stage. He put his kicking boots away, which was a very good thing, because the box kick was not going to work against Toulouse as far as I was concerned today. But he did distribute the ball a lot today, Danny Kerr. He played very good around the breakdown, made some darting runs as well. I give him a very high mark for his performance in the game today. In fact, I don't know why he went off at that stage. Maybe he had a bit of a niggle, but Will Porter, of course, had played very well in that quarter-final game against Bordeaux the previous time out, so it was probably nothing to lose for Harlequins at this stage of the game. So at 31-26, with just 14 minutes to go in the game, the next passage of play was going to be very important. If Harlequins were able to keep the momentum going and perhaps score another try, they were going to be back on terms with Toulouse. But something very unfortunate happened in the 66th minute. We saw Walker come through the middle of a breakdown situation, and he made head contact to Anton Dupont. The crowd were screaming for a red card, but Walker ended up getting a yellow and sent off for 10 minutes. So that was a big play in the game, no doubt about it. Not only did it stop the Quins' momentum at that time, by the time the TMO had several looks at the play, but it also put Harlequins down to 14 men. Fortunately, Dupont wasn't too hurt. He got back up and carried on the game. But it was something that Walker was a little bit unfortunate. He was going in to clear out the ball, but he did make head contact with Dupont. The referee, I thought, had no choice but other to give the yellow card on that occasion. And as we often see in rugby games, when there's a card involved 1 minute later, it had the impact that it wanted for Toulouse. They had a line out, they brought the ball wide, and the ball came out to Malia on the wing. He had a little bit of work to do. He got through a couple of tackles, but then dived over the line to score a try for Toulouse 1 minute later. So that was the break that Toulouse were looking for in the second half. Up until that stage, it had been Harlequins giving themselves all the opportunities to get back in this game. But that try would put Toulouse out to a 10-point lead with just 10 minutes left in the game. The try was scored out wide by Malia, and it meant that Thomas Ramos's first kick for goal in this game was going to be from the touchline. And what did he do? He put it over. So it was a great kick from Ramos. That's why he's in this team, as well as his general play. And he was able to put the score for Toulouse out to 38 points to 26. So a 12-point lead with 10 minutes to go. Harlequins were going to have to do something very special to be able to take this game from Toulouse. And in that last 10 minutes of the game, whether the yellow card had impacted the Harlequins team so much, but Toulouse got a little bit more ball in that last 10 minutes, and they were able to use their game management to wind the clock down and see this game out. But it was a very intense last 10 minutes. Quins had a couple of opportunities to get the ball out wide, but with those substitutes coming on for Toulouse, it gave them a little bit of fresher legs to get their defence in order, and they were able to do enough to hold on, pretty much like what Leinster did yesterday at Croke Park. So Toulouse were able to run the clock down until the end of the game. There was no more scores in the game. The final score would be 38 points to 26. Another thrilling semi-final in the European Champions Cup this year. Fantastic game of rugby. As I said, a game of two halves once again. We saw Toulouse playing exceptional rugby in that first half, and we saw Harlequins come back and really open the game up in the second half. A lot of those players that haven't played in semi-finals before for Harlequins, this run will do them good. They'll see what the intensity like, and they'll get a lot of experience from playing against a team like Toulouse in this particular game. There's some really great performances in this game. Cunningham South had a great game, I thought, for Harlequins, and Danny Kerr, Marcus Smith played well. Green was really good at fullback. Esther Hazen made some really good darting runs and got through the advantage line. Murley with that brilliant try in the end as well. But I think it was in the forwards that Toulouse did the most damage in the first half. We saw Mifu and Flamand playing very well. Malvaka, until he went off, was doing some fantastic work, getting some good runs in open play as well, and he was linking up really well with Dupont. Dupont, for me, the player of the match, no doubt about it. He is really the conductor of the orchestra for Toulouse and for France. Everything seems to pin around him, and it seems as though the opposition find it very, very difficult to keep him under control. We didn't see a huge game from Aki today. He had a couple of runs, but he was fairly quiet. Costas played well at the outside centre position. Malia was involved on the wing, and we saw some good work from Lebel finishing off his try, and Kinghorn was involved in a couple of good runs. Ramos did his job when he came on at fullback for Toulouse, scoring those extra points that really made the difference in the end, and making sure that Toulouse had enough on the scoreboard to be able to go away and win this particular game. So I think we've had a great weekend of Champions Cup rugby this weekend. Let me know in the comments what you thought of this game, but also let me know what you thought of the other game this weekend. I think they were both pretty similar in terms of the team leading at half-time had to endure a comeback from their opponent, and we saw that again with Harlequins today doing very, very well, and Danny Wilson and his crew can be proud of what they did in Toulouse today, even though they came up short against a very, very good Toulouse team. So now, May the 25th, we go to the Tottenham Football Stadium in London for the final of the Champions Cup this year, and what a game in prospect we have. I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, okay, who's going to win this game and how are they going to win it? Well, my early call on this game is going to be, I think Leinster are going to win this game, and it's all because I think that the Toulouse defence is a little bit weaker than the Leinster's defence, and if Leinster can really turn up and play for 80 minutes like they have in some of their other games this season, then they will be able to keep Toulouse at bay. I've said in many of my videos that I think any team that wants to beat Leinster this year has to score more than 30 points, and I think this Toulouse team has got the ability to do that. But if the Leinster defence is really turned on in that final, then I think Toulouse will struggle to get close to 30 points, and I think that's going to be the key in the final of this championship. The Toulouse team are an outstanding, spontaneous rugby team, and of course that little general and Anton Dupont can score points from anywhere. But when they start getting put under pressure, and Leinster are going to do this through their extraordinarily good backline, particularly with the likes of James Lowe and Henshaw being able to put pressure, I think that's where Toulouse are going to crack. Like we saw today, we saw Harlequins being able to put that pressure on for 20 minutes of that second half. I think if Leinster come out and play like that for 60 or 70 minutes of the final, that's going to be enough to be able to beat the Toulouse team. I'm going to be back with some preview videos for that final before the game, talking about the teams and whether or not my predictions are going to change. But at this early stage, after what I've seen this weekend, I'm going to call a Leinster win in the final on May the 25th. I might change my mind by the time we get to kick off, but that's what I see for now. So there we go, there's my review show for the game today between Toulouse and Harlequins. It was a great game of rugby. Well done to Toulouse and all your fans. It was a beautiful sunny day in the south of France. It's good to see rugby played at this level across the European landscape. And well done to the Harlequins team as well. I thought they played a very good role in making this game a great spectacle for the great game of rugby. So let me know in the comments what you thought of the game. Any other players that stood out for you, I'd like to hear from you in the comments. Now, if you like my content, why not hit the subscribe button, give this video a bit of a thumbs up and a like. Helps me out on this whole YouTube journey that I'm on. And I'm going to be able to see you all again very soon with some more video content coming up. This week I've got something special from New Zealand for you, so make sure you check that out as well. Until next time, everyone, stay safe, stay well, keep enjoying your rugby from all over the world, and I'll see you again soon from beautiful Cancun in Mexico. Until then, it's time to say bye for now.